Priscilla thought she'd already heard every recording Elvis ever made, until a sealed cassette surfaced from a forgotten drawer in Graceland. On the label, written in his handwriting, "Play after I'm gone." What she heard next wasn't music. It was confession, apology, and something the world was never meant to hear. Stay to the end, because the last minute of that tape changed how the world remembers the king forever. August 16th, 2023. The air inside Graceland felt heavier than usual. Outside, thousands of fans stood in candlelight, marking 46 years since Elvis Presley's passing. Inside the mansion, only 3 people moved quietly through the upstairs office: Priscilla Presley, Miriam Cole, and Ray Dalton. The room hadn't changed much since the 70s. The same oak cabinets, the same smell of old vinyl and paper. Dust danced in the lamplight like tiny ghosts. Miriam, the lead archivist, cataloged each drawer for the museum's new digital preservation project. "Everything we log goes into the system," she said gently, her gloved fingers steady. Ray, the sound technician, sorted through reels, microphones, and cassette tapes, marking them by year. Priscilla stood near the window, the glow of the memorial candles flickering through the glass. Her voice was quiet. "He used to write songs in this room. He'd leave notes everywhere. In books, in pockets, sometimes on napkins." Miriam smiled softly. "Then we'll find them all." She opened the bottom drawer of the old oak cabinet. The wood groaned, decades of stillness breaking in a single sound. Something slid out from the back and clattered onto the floor. A small, clear cassette case. It bounced once, then stopped beside Priscilla's shoe. Ray bent to pick it up. "Probably another rehearsal tape," he said casually. But the second he turned it toward the light, his voice changed. Across the label, written in thick blue ink, were 6 words: "Play after I'm gone." The handwriting was unmistakable, bold, looping, perfectly Elvis. Miriam froze. "That can't be." Priscilla reached out, her gloved fingers trembling. She knew every detail of that script: the curl on the capital P, the long tail on the Y. It was him. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. "He left this," she whispered, "and never told anyone." Ray looked closer. The plastic had yellowed slightly, but the tape inside was intact. "If this was recorded before 77, he murmured. "It's a miracle it survived." Miriam logged it automatically, her pen shaking. Graceland Archives, August 16th, 2023. Label reads, "Play after I'm gone." Priscilla held the tape to her chest. It was warm from her touch, cold from time. Outside, a fan began to sing "Can't Help Falling in Love." The melody floated faintly through the window. What do you do when a voice you've mourned for decades calls out again? How do you prepare for words meant only for after goodbye? Priscilla looked at the tape once more, her eyes wet. "If it's real," she whispered. Then he knew he was leaving. The room fell utterly silent. Even the sound of the fans outside seemed to fade. Ray met Miriam's eyes. "We'll need to play it." Priscilla closed her fingers around the tape. "Not yet," she said softly. "Not until I'm ready." But the label stared back at her, unblinking. "Play after I'm gone." The next morning, the mansion was still. Rain tapped softly against the window panes, tracing slow paths across the glass. In the archive room, the cassette sat alone on a velvet cloth, the cassette. The words "Play after I'm gone" glimmered faintly under the lamp, like they were written in grief instead of ink. Priscilla entered quietly, dressed in black. She hadn't slept. Ray Dalton, the sound technician, stood beside an old TIAC deck from the 1970s. Polished, restored, identical to the kind Elvis once used for demos. "We cleaned the tape," he said gently. "It's fragile, but playable." Priscilla nodded. "Then let's hear him." Miriam Cole set up a small notebook for notes and authentication. The ink matches the blue Bic pens he used in the 70s. Even the handwriting pressure. It's real. Priscilla stared at the deck like it was a time machine she wasn't sure she wanted to step into. Ray eased the cassette in, clicked the latch, and pressed play. The reels began to spin. A soft hiss. Then silence. For a moment, nothing. Then a breath. "Scylla!" Her hand flew to her mouth. It was him. The room froze. "If you're hearing this," his voice said softly. I reckon I didn't get to say it right. The tone wasn't rehearsed. It was low, cracked, deeply human. "I've been thinking about how the music never really belonged to me. It belonged to the noise, the lights, the people. But you were the quiet between it all." Priscilla's eyes flooded. The sound of his voice felt close enough to touch. He paused, breathing audibly. "There's something I never told you about the last show." Miriam scribbled the words automatically, her hands trembling. Ray looked at Priscilla. "You okay to keep going?" She didn't answer. She just nodded, eyes locked on the turning reels. Elvis continued. "I thought that night might be my last one. The doctor said my heart was running on fumes. But I saw you backstage, you smiled like it was 1956 again. That's what got me through." His voice cracked into static. Then silence. The reels kept spinning, but no one spoke. What words could outlive 40 years of silence? Would you listen? Or walk away to protect your heart? The tape hissed again. One faint exhale before his voice returned. "There's something I left behind, Scylla. Something I never told anyone." The real word faster. Priscilla whispered, trembling. "What did you do, Elvis?" Then his voice lowered to a whisper, intimate and raw. "There's something I never told you about the last show." The reels clicked. The tape stopped. The reels began turning again. A low hum filled the room, followed by the creak of a chair and a breath drawn close to the microphone. "Vegas," Elvis said. His voice was deeper now, as if every word carried the weight of exhaustion. "November 76. I almost didn't go on that night." Priscilla held her breath. She remembered that show, Las Vegas Hilton, November 14th, 1976. Nearly 20,000 people had filled the hall. The crowd had roared like thunder, never realizing he'd almost collapsed backstage. He continued. "The doctor told me my heart was beaten like a drum out of tune. Said one more encore could stop it." The tape hissed softly. "But you came back there, Scylla. You smiled like nothing ever went wrong between us. You told me to sing it anyway. So I did." A quiet laugh escaped him. "You saved that night. You didn't know it, but you did." Miriam wiped her eyes. "He sounds fragile," Priscilla whispered. "He was." Then his tone shifted lower, rawer. "That night, I thought it was my last show. I left something on that stage for you. Something nobody noticed." The words hung heavy. Ray leaned closer to the speaker. "He left something?" Elvis inhaled sharply, the mic catching the sound like thunder before rain. "There was a song we never finished. One I couldn't sing right, so I changed the ending live. You can't hear it unless you know where to listen." Static rose, then a faint echo of crowd noise bled through the tape. The audio had changed, grainy, distant. He was there again. The Hilton stage. You could almost feel the heat of the spotlights and the breath of 20,000 souls holding silence between beats. The piano began. A slow, fragile intro to Can't Help Falling in Love. But this version sounded different. His phrasing slowed, deliberate. On the last chorus, he changed the lyric. "Take my hand, for I can't help but find my way home." The audience never noticed, but Priscilla did now. She gasped, pressing her fingers to her lips. "Oh my God, he changed it for me." Elvis's voice on the tape continued quietly. "When I sang that, I meant it. I wanted you to know I wasn't afraid. I just wanted to go home." Priscilla broke down, shoulders shaking. "He was saying goodbye." Miriam stopped writing, eyes wet. "All those years, and no one heard it." The tape crackled again. Elvis whispered, "I figured if the world ever listened back close enough, they'd hear the truth. But I only wanted you to hear it. What do we owe the people who loved us after the curtain falls? How do you forgive someone still apologizing from beyond time?" The hiss deepened. A piano chord lingered under his final words. "There's one more thing, Scylla. If you ever find this tape, look for the rest of it. I hid something close." The reel ticked once, and faint background sound emerged. Crowd fading, piano echo, and then Elvis humming a new melody no one had ever heard. It was soft, unpolished, haunting. Ray whispered, "That's not any song in the catalog." Miriam nodded slowly. "He recorded something new that night." Priscilla stared at the spinning reels. Her tears stopped, replaced by disbelief. "He said he left something," she whispered. "But where?" The tape sputtered, then stopped mid-hum. Static. Silence. The tape clicked again. The sound was quieter this time, different. A faint echo filled the speakers, like a room larger than the one they stood in. Ray adjusted the volume. "This isn't from the stage feed. This is off-mic, like a dressing room recorder." Then, through the hiss, his voice returned. Softer now. Closer. "Elvis Presley, August 1977. Graceland." Miriam read from the reel's internal code. This must have been his last self-recorded tape. The piano keys creaked faintly in the background. He was alone, humming. The melody had no words, only breath between notes. It was raw, unguarded, like he wasn't performing for anyone at all. Priscilla's eyes glistened. "That's him in the music room," she whispered. "I'd know that sound anywhere." Then he spoke, voice almost a whisper. "Scylla, if the world forgets me, let M. Just don't forget the man, not the myth." Miriam stopped breathing. Elvis continued, the tape carrying each syllable like it knew its importance. "I know I wasn't easy to love, but when the noise got too loud, I'd think of you in the crowd, quiet, steady. You always kept me human." He paused, and the clink of a glass echoed softly. "And tell our girl, her daddy tried." Priscilla's hand covered her mouth. The line shattered her composure. She turned away, trembling. Ray's voice broke the silence. This isn't a demo. It's a goodbye." The tape whirred gently as if time itself hesitated. Then Elvis sang again, only now the melody had words. "When the lights go down, and the curtain falls, don't cry for the man you saw. Cry for the song that never got sung. For the love I left halfway done." His voice cracked. He coughed once, then steadied himself, breathing into the mic. He whispered, "That's all I got left, darlin'." Priscilla's tears fell freely. "He was fading," she whispered. "You can hear it in his lungs." The piano carried one last phrase. Then silence. But before the reel ended, there was a faint scrape, like the sound of paper sliding across wood. Elvis's voice returned, faint, almost playful despite the exhaustion. "Scylla, if you're listening to this someday, look under the piano bench." Ray froze. "What?" The words repeated clearly this time. "Look under the piano bench." Priscilla's eyes widened. She turned toward the hallway. "The white piano," she breathed. "It's still there." He meant that one. Miriam blinked in disbelief. "After all these years." Priscilla stood, the tears gone now, replaced with something fierce, focused. "He left something behind, and he wanted me to find it." Ray stopped the tape. The reels spun to a halt, the machine clicking softly into silence. For a long moment no one moved. The sound of the rain outside had stopped. The world seemed to hold its breath with them. Priscilla whispered, "Get the keys. We're going downstairs." They descended the stairs in silence. The air inside Graceland felt heavier now, as if the house itself was listening. The marble floor reflected the soft light from the chandeliers, leading them toward the music room. Every echo of their footsteps sounded like a heartbeat. Priscilla paused at the doorway. The white grand piano gleamed under a thin layer of dust. The same piano where Elvis had once written lullabies, prayers, and apologies no one ever heard. Ray whispered, "You sure about this?" Priscilla nodded. "He told me where to look." Miriam switched on her flashlight and knelt beside the piano bench. The hinges creaked when she lifted the lid. Inside lay nothing but sheet music and a few yellowed lyrics. Then Ray noticed something. At the far back, near the lining, the fabric bulged slightly. "Wait," he said. "There's something under here." He slid his hand beneath the upholstery and pulled out a small velvet pouch, sealed with a glob of dark wax. The wax bore the impression of a lightning bolt, Elvis's TCB symbol. Taking care of business. Priscilla's breath caught. That's his seal. She took it in her hands, trembling. The pouch was small enough to fit in her palm, but heavy, like it carried time itself. Miriam whispered, "Open it." Priscilla hesitated. For a moment, she felt 9 years old again, listening through cracked doors to the sound of his voice echoing through the house. Then she broke the seal. Inside lay a folded letter and a gold locket, shaped like a miniature microphone. The metal was worn smooth from touch. She opened it carefully, and inside was a photograph. A tiny black and white image of her, taken backstage in Las Vegas, 1973. She was smiling, eyes wide, holding his scarf. The letter unfolded easily, though the paper trembled in her hands. In his unmistakable handwriting, it read, "For Scylla, 'cause you taught me silence can still sing." The world heard Elvis Presley. But you heard me. If they ever ask what this was, tell him it wasn't fame that kept me alive. It was forgiveness. Priscilla's tears hit the page, smudging the ink. She pressed the letter to her heart. "He knew," she whispered. "He knew he was leaving." Miriam turned away, overcome. Ray just stood still, head bowed, as if the piano itself demanded reverence. The room felt alive again. The chandelier lights flickered once, casting gold across the ivory keys. Outside, thunder rumbled softly, almost like applause. Can peace arrive decades late and still feel right on time? Would you open a door the past left just for you? Priscilla looked around the room that had once held their laughter, their arguments, their beginnings. "He didn't just say goodbye," she whispered. "He left me grace." The sound of distant voices drifted from outside. The fans still gathered beyond the gates, unaware of what had just been found. Ray's phone buzzed. His face went pale. "News just broke," he said quietly. "Someone leaked the discovery. Reporters are already coming." Priscilla folded the letter and placed it inside her pocket, close to her heart. "He left this for me," she said. "They can hear the music, but the words are mine." By morning, the news had spread across the world. The words "play after I'm gone" flashed on every screen, TV, phones, headlines. Graceland became a pilgrimage site overnight. Fans lined the gates with flowers and vinyl records, their candles forming a river of light down Elvis Presley Boulevard. Inside, Priscilla watched from a window as cameras blinked through the magnolia trees. She wasn't angry, just quiet. "He wanted his truth to be heard," she murmured. The Presley Foundation released an official statement within hours. A newly discovered recording featuring Elvis Presley's final voice note will be shared to honor his legacy. But the public didn't just want the story, they wanted to hear him. That night, the world finally did. The foundation uploaded the cleaned audio, "Still Here," the voice note, to their official channel. The first few seconds were exactly as Priscilla remembered. The hiss, the soft breath, his quiet confession. Then came the lullaby, fragile, unfinished, heartbreakingly human. Within an hour, it had more than 10 million views. Crowds gathered outside the mansion, playing the song from portable speakers. The chorus drifted through the air, mingling with the hum of cicadas and the low rustle of Memphis wind. Miriam stood beside Priscilla as the sound poured through the gates. "He's singing again," she said softly. Priscilla nodded. "He never stopped. We just stopped listening." 2 days later, the Presley Foundation announced a new project, the Still Here Fund, created to support mental health programs for touring musicians. The locket and letter were placed in a secure exhibit beside the white piano. A small brass plaque was added beneath it. "To Scylla, who heard me after the music stopped." Visitors from Japan, Brazil, and Tupelo arrived just to stand in front of it. Some cried, some smiled, some whispered prayers under their breath. Can love recorded on magnetic tape still change lives? How long does a goodbye echo when it's sung from the heart? Outside, a reporter spoke to the crowd live on air. Even now, nearly 50 years later, Elvis Presley is reminding the world that truth lasts longer than fame. Inside, Priscilla stepped up to the same piano and pressed one key. The note hung in the air, pure, bright, infinite. During the public unveiling that evening, she played the last minute of the voice note in front of the gathered crowd. The room went still. The tape hissed. His voice filled the air, soft, human, and eternal. And in that moment, even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. The lights dimmed inside the Graceland music room. Cameras rolled quietly as fans, family, and a few old friends filled the small space. On the piano sat the same cassette deck from the archives, the one that had carried his voice back across time. Priscilla stood beside it, the letter in her hand. She pressed play. The reels turned once more, slow and steady. The hiss filled the room like distant rain. Then his voice. "Scylla, if I did one thing right, it was loving you honest." Her breath caught just as it had the first time. Around her, every head bowed instinctively, as though listening to a prayer. "Don't cry when it plays," his voice continued. "Just remember I meant every word." The sound was soft, weary, but certain, like a man who had made peace with the noise of the world. He paused, then said the final line, "I'll see you in every note that still plays." And then the reel clicked. Silence. Priscilla's hand stayed on the machine, eyes glistening. The crowd didn't clap at first. No one dared to break the quiet. Then, softly, the applause began. Not loud, not staged, just reverent. Miriam whispered to Ray, "He got the last word." Ray nodded. And it was love. Reporters captured the moment, but none of their headlines could translate what filled the air. It wasn't grief anymore. It was understanding. Priscilla stepped to the piano, opened the locket, and placed it gently on the keys. The camera lights reflected off the gold like a single spark of sunlight. She spoke softly, voice steady. He wasn't saying goodbye. He was teaching us how to listen. The words rippled through the crowd. Some wept, some smiled through tears. The plaque below the piano glimmered. "To Scylla, who heard me after the music stopped. What do you do when the voice you loved most finds you again? Maybe you stop searching for closure and start hearing the echo." Outside, fans sang quietly under the Memphis night. "Love Me Tender" floated through the gates, carried by hundreds of trembling voices. The sound reached the open window where Priscilla stood, listening. She closed her eyes and smiled. "You're still here," she whispered. The final frame lingered on the spinning cassette, light glinting across the tape reel as his voice faded forever into stillness. Love recorded once can play forever. If the story moved you, share it with someone whose voice you still miss. Because some echoes don't fade, they wait. Maybe the words you need most are already recorded somewhere, waiting for you to press play. Love doesn't end with silence. It just changes how it's heard.